Yo, yo. Mic test. Hello, how's everyone doing tonight? Thank you, everyone, for coming to our Syncedin tonight. I will be one of two hosts. I'm Larion. I'm a DJ producer.
I'm Heather, and my DJ name is Heater, and I'm also a DJ producer here in Toronto.
And I'd like to introduce our panelists tonight. So on the far right, we have Duro the Third, multidisciplinary artist, legendary BMX builder, Toronto-based graffiti artist and designer, murals all over Toronto, Scarborough, Australia, New York, and Los Angeles. Worked with huge brands including the Toronto Raptors, Twitter, Google Pixel, Red Bull, Snapchat, RBC, Bud Light, Shopify, Nike, Bacardi, and many more. Give a round up for Arturo, everyone. Do it the third.
He read my website. Thank you.
And in the middle, we have Toni-Rose. Works with, she's an artist manager, works with 2+2 management in this building, actually. And you may know some of the artists that she manages, including Sippy, Nostalgics, and Rez, everybody. Give it a hand for Toni-Rose. And right here on my right, we have Ivan Evidente, director of A&R for Universal Music, known as Big Ives. Over 23 years here at Universal Music Canada, he has had the opportunity to work on projects for some of the world's top entertainers in the music industry, including Jay-Z, Rihanna, Kanye West, Eminem, and 50 Cent, to name a few. He started as a DJ and promoter in the city, and he's had the pleasure of working on career development for some of Canada's top artists, including Drake, Justin Bieber, exactly, Drake, Justin Bieber, The Weeknd, and many others. Please give it a hand for Ivan, everybody.
All right. So, as you may know, the talk today is about artist journey and navigating an artist career, and everyone has a story. So, I wanted to start off with the first question, which is, what inspired you to pursue your career journey? Each of you has a really different journey, so I wanted to hear like what inspired you and got to where you are today. We could start off with Ivan and then go that way. Yeah.
Sure. I think for me, it's just sort of my passion for music. I think essentially,
Yeah.
is where it's sort of all rooted from. I came from somewhat of a musical family. So my mother was actually a pianist. She was a pianist, but my mom was a pianist for ballets and modern dance. So my mom worked with the National Ballet of Canada, and all that stuff for many years. And then, just being Filipino, I think we're kind of raised around music a lot, as I'm sure many families are. But so it kind of sort of started there for me.
Right.
And then just kind of, I think, wow, okay, we're okay over there. So yeah, I think that's kind of where it's sort of rooted from. And then, not to get into bore you guys with all the details, but I kind of knew at an early age that I kind of wanted to work in some form of like music, you know what I mean? So I wasn't particularly musically talented by any stretch, but my sort of first introduction into all of this, I guess, would say I started out as a DJ. So that was kind of my first thing into music, and then from there, it just kind of
Right.
became a thing. But I'll let
Awesome.
everybody else chime in.
Cool.
I'm also from a very musically Filipino background. Not to say that I'm musically inclined in any way anymore, but I started off playing the piano. I was singing in like a Filipino choir growing up, and then I got into the fandom. In the internet age, it was pre-internet age, you had like the Hilary Duff, like the Disney Channel kids, Jonas Brothers, like One Direction. So I started going to all those concerts at like the ripe age of 10. And then my mom was so great, like so grateful for her. She allowed me to go to all these different concerts, ended up going to like pop punk shows, and ended up going to like these indie rock shows. And then I was like, oh, I really like doing this. I wanted to see what it was like behind the scenes. So at 16, I was like, okay, I got to there has to be something that I wanted to do in this space, because I was getting so passionate about it. I was like, I really want to go to all these concerts. I don't think I can afford them, but I'm going to keep trying and see how I can like get my way there. So I started, actually, it was here in Toronto. There's a Canadian Music Incubator. They have a high school program, so I enrolled in that as in my last year of high school. then eventually went to school to see if there was any viable program that could help me get into this space. That was, I would say I started that in 2014, graduated in 2018, and I just kept grinding because I was like, I don't really see another possible option for myself, and I was always music, and it's kind of where it got me here today. Yeah.
Awesome.
I started doing graffiti in 1989 in Scarborough because I noticed the RT line gave me the biggest gallery in all of Canada. So roughly 50,000 people, see, I like you guys already. 50,000 people were going there every hour. So I'm like, oh, this is good. I could go illegally and do some shit and be a legend. So I sucked for 4 years. And then by 93, I got pretty good. And then graffiti really started exploding in Toronto. By 95, I was the most well-known guy. By 2001, I was like, screw this. This sucks. I'm done. And I moved out. I moved out in 2000. And then I became the top nightclub photographer and nightclub poster maker for flyers. And like Flipside and Ivan will verify this because I've known them. And so I was always around music. And then while I was at nightclubs, I started learning kind of the psychology of humanity, of like interacting male, female, old, young, you know, whatever. And so I just became this insane maniac where I was doing 7 nightclubs a night. And let me give you guys a little bit of history on Toronto. So in 2003, SARS hit. And Toronto got hit really hard, and nobody was coming to visit us. And so what the mayor did, he gave out liquor licenses like crazy. So over 200 nightclubs popped up within a year and a half. And you know who was working most of those nightclubs? Me. And you know who was doing all the flyers? Me. And you know who was doing all the flyers for the DJs? Me. And you know who was there taking photos? Me. And so I became entrenched in this nightclub world. And after that, I became really obsessed with music. And so when I moved again in 2011, I opened up a recording studio. And without me kind of knowing I was doing this, I kind of created this incubator where all these DJs would come and kind of learn, because I was with these 2 ghost producers who literally are still huge to this day. And I kind of saw the ins and outs, and I was teaching people. And then, so then my life really went into music, really went into graphics, everything's fine, whatever. And then COVID hit. And then I was doing something for 5 years. I was collecting vintage BMX bikes because I'm a midlife crisis man, and I wanted to recapture my childhood. That's how we do. And so I wanted a 1987 Dyno Pro Comp. And so I finally got it. And COVID hit, and the whole world stopped. So what I started realizing, I was kind of going a little bit viral with my murals, right? But realistically, I wasn't going that viral, right? 2020 hit, and then me and my manager are on my couch, and we're just like, yo, what are we gonna do? And I'm just like, yo, there's nothing for me to do. I'm just gonna start showing these bikes. So then I started learning the psychology of going viral. And my first bike I did was a Tiffany & Co. BMX bike. And then it went viral. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I realized if you take 2 things and mash them together, you create something new, and then people love it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. So then the Mandalorian bike was coming out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a Mandalorian bike. Then that hit 700,000 views. I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm going to do this type of bike. Then that hit 1 million. Then I started in 10 million, then 20 million, then 30 million. Then in 2021, I became friends with these really famous guys in Los Angeles, and then they kind of took me, kind of like adopted me. And now all these celebrities start hiring me, whatever. And so my life kind of has gone up and down financially, emotionally, whatever. But it's all about telling stories, documenting, and giving people cool stuff which is nostalgia-based. And now I've gotten to the point where I teach people how to go viral, because almost nobody knows what they're doing. And when it comes to musicians, they put so much pressure on themselves. And I really have to talk them off the edge and be like, look, you just got to do this because this person did this. And that's why I'm here today.
So, question for you. When you speak on virality, because we're all a bunch of music producers, DJs, and others trying to get to that level, to like the Drake Rez of whatever version we are. And so I guess my question to you is it, how necessary is it to go viral and to launch, I guess, our career? And are there other factors required other than virality?
So anybody can go viral for anything. You could fall off a chair and go viral, straight up. Like, there's a guy right now who just went viral because Tom Cruise pointed at him last week and said, you ate all your popcorn. He went viral. Like, literally the dumbest shit. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. It's on TikTok. And so going viral takes a lot of certain elements. intrigue, colors, shapes, and maybe some music. And music's actually the least important one, to be perfectly honest with you. And there's a lot of rules to how to go viral, and a lot of people don't understand those rules. Rule number one, never do a trend. I don't care who you are, do not do a trend. You will screw up your algorithm so bad, because then everyone likes you for that trend and it'll put you here. So all the stuff you actually do, it doesn't care anymore because you did that stupid trend. Never do a trend. Rule number two, 50 to 80% of all music videos do not play audio, because people are scrolling doing other crap. They're watching Netflix, they're talking to their girlfriend, they're on Tinder, whatever. They're not listening to the audio. So that nice video you edited to that audio, nobody cares, okay? So there's a lot of little rules that I know. And also you have to use apps in different ways. So TikTok is a discovery app, okay? Instagram is a portfolio app. It's beautiful, it's nice, it's Gucci, Fendi, Prada, whatever, it's perfectly edited. TikTok is raw, no makeup, I don't care, this girl broke up with me, I'm pissed off, whatever. That's what people like. Now, during COVID, everybody got really emotional and everybody wanted a connection. And so anyone who blew up during COVID blew up because they were being quote unquote real or quote unquote authentic. That's what I tell people how to do, and that's what I help people. Now, is it important for a musician to get viral? Yeah, it's extremely important, okay? Now, the moment you try to go viral, you will never go viral. No chance in hell. The moment you do something cool and fun that relates to people, you'll go viral. And it's always the video you never expect that'll go viral that went viral. I hope that answered your question. that's what I. Yeah,
I'm
that's right.
curious, Ivan. Like, how does, I guess, social media virality play in your role as an A&R?
I mean, honestly speaking, I'm not looking for artists specifically that went viral, and I'm like, oh wait, that's the artist we need to sign. Like, that's not. I mean, I know there are certain probably A&Rs who probably look for that kind of stuff. I personally haven't, you know, but I mean, it is. You know, it's stuff that we track, obviously, you know what I mean? And I think there's always just the social media component of, like, any developing act is super important for us, you know what I mean? Like, again, to your point, I don't think we can, like, predict and say, okay, like, you're going to go viral, you know what I mean? We that's nothing that we can honestly predict.
There's always an X factor, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there always has to be something, you know what I mean? But I guess for my, like, if you're asking if that's what I'm looking for, no, not per se. And I don't think I've ever been in a single A&R meeting where we talked about, like, okay, who went viral today, and let's, you know what I mean, let's go after that person. And funny enough, you know, there's a lot of times where I've seen acts who something may have gone crazy on TikTok, maybe with their music, but then when we put that thing on streaming, it, like, legit, it doesn't go, like, you know what I mean? So not everything that sort of goes viral on maybe TikTok, that doesn't necessarily translate on streaming platforms per se.
Right.
So I don't know,
That's super valid, honestly. And so just a little bit more context as we were giving all of you backstage as well. There's a lot of aspiring artists, aspiring DJs and producers here in the audience today. And a lot of us are, like, you know, trying to, like, get bigger. And this is, like, more so a question for both Ivan and Toni. So what is one thing that you wish more emerging artists in the room today knew about the music industry that someone who's a hobbyist or getting started might not know?
So the question is, repeat again, what?
So what's one thing that you wish an emerging artist who's, like, a hobbyist right now who wants to get bigger didn't know, but you wish they would know about the music industry today?
Well, I think I tell it with any artist, you got to show up. Like, you have to show up, I say. Like, meaning it's the work ethic is extremely important, right? And I think it's like any artist needs to understand, like, that this is not something that typically happens overnight. I find that, like, especially, you know, with certain artists, sometimes it could take up to, like, 4 to, like, even 7 years before anything even remotely happens. And I think it's important for artists to realize that, like, you're in it for the long haul. You know what I mean? I think if you're in it for, like, other reasons than that, then it's more than likely not going to work out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, and you really have to just be focused and understand that there's going to be a lot of sort of things that I always try to tell artists is, like, just keep your head down and just do the work. And, you know, you're going to be told a lot of times, but it's like the ones who just keep going and grinding. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's attached to that. But I think that's one thing that I'd probably would love to, like, just tell people all the time is that you have to put in the work. Like, you literally have to. And you got to work with people and surround yourselves with people who are like-minded. And you know, I don't know. Those are.
Yeah, I think, like, consistency is key too. Yeah. Like, you could I think I like to tell my artists, like, you can write 100 songs. Your first song is not going to be like the 100th song that you wrote, but the difference is that you can see the growth and development between the first, second, third, all the way to the 100th song. And I think also, like, you'll have highs and lows. You can celebrate your wins, but consistency is important, and you, again, just keep your head down and ensure that, like, you're still working hard, you're still putting in the work to, you know, whether it's making a social media post, whether it's like putting that last final synth in the song. Like, it's those moments that are going to continue to keep you consistent, and practicing that is going to be the end game, because a lot of people are here for the short-term goals, the short-term, like, wins. But if you're not looking like 5-10 years down the line, then I don't think that you can look at what you're going to be doing next.
These are fully valid points, and the work ethic is everything. I have a saying: never trust someone who always wants to be famous. You know why? Because they'll cut your throat to be famous, and they'll dump your manager to go to another manager, and they'll keep trying to up it to be famous. It's a horrible drug, and we've seen it. We've seen people, horror stories of people like dumping this to, I want to do this, whatever. The person that actually is passionate about music and actually wants the crowd to be happy, that's the person that'll make it. The person that remix is due on Thursday, they'll get it done for Thursday. I mean, will you guys agree with that? That's the person that labels want to work with. And I saw a TikTok this morning, and it was talking about Rocky 3. And Sylvester Stallone wanted the song by Queen. What's the one where they stomp their feet?
Eye of the Tiger.
Well, no, that's what they made. But what's the song?
Real Rocky by
Real
Queen.
Rocky. He wanted it, and Queen's like, you can't have it. Maybe they didn't like Stallone. I don't know. So then he's like, shit, what am I going to do? So then he called up his friend who was in a band called Survivor, and he's like, hey, this line, oh, what's up? And he was like, hey, I want to do a song. That became Eye of the Tiger. But it was because he was a fan of their music previous. So they had built the groundwork for this famous person to reach out. And that's work ethic. You put out 100 songs, trust me, you're going to impress somebody at some point, and then they're going to pick you up. You guys all seen John Wick? You know who does the music for John Wick? Luke Castlevania, okay? Luke Castlevania was making synth pop, 80s inspired synth beat for like 10 years. One day is like, oh, I kind of like that. Now he's huge because he put in 10 years of uploading to SoundCloud. I remember when he just started, because I was making 80s inspired music. It's that portfolio that eventually will get someone's attention. It's not you trying to be a famous. They'll pick that up and they'll be like, nah, you're a troublemaker. You put in that work. You do all the different types of genres. You do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. Somebody will like you and put you in the right place eventually if you have work ethic.
So I'm curious, when it comes to consistency, what do you find is like, you mentioned social media, which makes sense, but like, is there anything else specifically? Like, for example, I only know this from what I've read, but I think Rez did a bunch of like underground raves and stuff in Toronto, and she also went into music production. I think Nostalgics went to Cosmic. Yeah. So I can see how the consistency translates there. So like, is it social media plus like doing underground raves? Is it like putting on your own shows and a social media or putting out songs on SoundCloud relentlessly? Like, what is it from your perspective?
Honestly, I mean, it's a lot to say, but I'll give you like a few examples of like what you've mentioned. So, SoundCloud, for example, we have an artist on the label named X1Y2. This is Rez's label, Hypnovision. Had like 2 followers or so. He's also from Portugal, so he's like a no one in the bass world in North America. Rez found him randomly because she was just looking through random profiles to seeing what she liked, what she wanted to play. And she found this guy and was like, hey, like, I really like your music. And then 6 months later, they put out an EP together. So I think, like, putting out music and seeing what you can, like, someone will be out there and they'll love your sound. They'll just be like, yes, I get it, I see it, and I will, like, I'll either play it in my sets or I will, like, I'll just think about it and, you know, put it in the back of my head, maybe save it for a future collaboration. There's that. There's also like social media. Again, being consistent. You're not going to go viral immediately unless, you know, you're like falling off a chair. But I think like it happens. Yeah. Like,
or no popcorn.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I took a random video in Amsterdam. I was at a bakery shop rave. and it was just a random video. I gave it to my artist. She got 13.2 million views, got reposted on Barstool, got reposted on Lad Bible, and that was just a random video I took because I was like, oh, this is so fun. And then she was like, yeah, I'm gonna post it because it had her song in it, and then bam. And I think like, but the problem with that is that there hasn't been virality since. And I think, again, being consistent on your social media means that you have to find who you are first, and in doing that, like, you kind of have to find your voice and your identity and who you want to portray, both in your art, in your social media, and all that. So in that case, like, on social media, I think that's being consistent, and I guess trial and error too, but also ensuring that like you are putting your best foot forward, you're putting yourself out there, and that eventually people are going to stick, and they're going to stick around. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I really like the little snippet about Rez finding someone, really liking their sound and just going for it. And I think a lot of us here are trying to find our authentic sound as well, but also balancing that with what's trending right now or what seems to be working well for the artists that are big right now. So how should someone who's starting out balance out this desire to follow trends and like, you know, these sounds that are trending and what feels more authentic to them? Like, what have you seen working in the industry? Yeah.
Yeah. So if we're going to talk about the EDM space, that's where I primarily live in. I think the first thing too is like figuring out who your audience is, whether you're in like bass, whether you're in house, whether you're in tech house. All these audiences are very different. Like you have like your Wooks, you've got the people with the sprouts. They are they like, I'll give Levity as an example. They started getting viral on TikTok because of their remixes. But they were able to keep people around because they had a sound that was very unique and very like they were just showing up as who they are. And then you have someone like Rez, like she has like her very distinct sound, and like there's no one else out there who like does that.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the thing. Like you kind of just have to just find out what you want to do, where you want to go. And again, people will come back and see where that sticks, you know?
Yeah. Anything else, Ivan?
I think it's the same, like, just in general with artists all the time. Like, people always ask you, like, what do you look for when you sign acts and stuff like that? I agree with Tony. Like, definitely, like, I talked about the work ethic part. Well, this is super random, but like, you gotta be like a nice person, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
you can be like the most talented person, but if you're an asshole, like nobody's gonna want to work with you. Like,
And it's
like,
free.
important.
Yeah, like
Kindness is free.
Yeah, kindness is free. But I do agree that a lot of the times we're also, you know, we're looking for artists that at least have maybe not fully thought out, but they definitely have an idea of what type of artist they are, like what do they stand for, like you know what I mean, or what do they, you know, like that type of like have the vision in that sense. The labels, like for the most part, I think, you know, I always try to explain that the label's job is to just enhance the artist's vision ultimately, right? But it's literally the artist that has to know, like, you know, like where their North Star is, so to say. And then we kind of sort of come in and try to, you know, build off of that. But I definitely feel that it's super important to like, and that comes over time as well. Like, you know, like it's like, you know, and you're building your fan base over time. And a lot of times even the fans are the ones that also help the artists to figure out, you know, their aesthetic. You know what I mean? Like, and I always say to artists that to lean on the fans as well, make them feel like a part of the growth, and they kind of help you figure out what direction you're supposed to go in.
So like when you say, can we break down what you mean by vision? So like, I'm guessing, my guess it's one part brand, one part good music, one part fan base, I guess. Like, kind of, like, obviously vision means, like, I guess, in one way, your dream show with, like, all the, like, the way you envision and stuff, but, like, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like, I've met artists who right off the top know exactly, like the type of music that they want to make. They know who their audience is. They know exactly what their stage show is going to look like. They've thought this all out. And not everyone's like that, but that's what I mean when they have the vision. They know exactly like what their brand is essentially. You know what I mean? And the aesthetic of it. They know right down to like, you know, just the way they right down to the font exactly
down
of
to
their
the
logo.
font.
Like
That's wild.
It's like
Yeah.
not everyone knows that, but there are ones that I've met that definitely know. You know what I mean? And I think those are the ones that just really, you know, they really focus in on that. And those are the ones that I find that the labels love because it's like, okay, you already, you know what you want, and we're just here to kind of like turn on the machine to kind of
Right.
enhance it to
Okay.
get it seen to a bigger audience, so to say.
Okay, that's cool. And do you ever find that like, because I know you said like sometimes you find like your vision kind of evolves as you grow, and that kind of makes sense because I feel like at least as a music producer myself, I kind of like learned my sound through trial and error and like what worked like publicly, like when I posted it online. So like from your perspective, do you ever find that an artist, like when you take him on, grows like the kind of brand kind of grows as you're working together, or is it mostly like we kind of figured it out and now we're just
No,
turning
it
on the machine?
evolves. Like so,
It
there's
does
a lot of
evolve.
times. Like I had an artist that I used to not only did I managed them, B, I signed him to the label, and like what we first started out, he was like it was gonna be like. At first, we thought he was kind of leaning into more of like the boom bap underground hip hop thing. By the end of it, this was like raging, like it was a whole different vibe. But it was still like in the, I guess it was not like we totally 180'd it, but you saw it evolve. Like, and that was based even when he started doing shows. He started noticing what songs people resonated to more. Like there was different stuff that people like to hear, but versus when he's performing, it's like a whole different thing. And so we leaned into that a little bit more, and then the brand started to change a little bit more because that's what we felt that people wanted to see. They wanted to see the more like we want to see you rage, not on some like boom bap underground cipher hip hop. No. There was,
cool.
so you know, and then there's the ones that just right off the rip we stay the course, so to say. But
Yeah.
I don't really think there's one like thing that says, oh, it has to be like that. So
Okay.
the question is, does it evolve? And yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, like, I have an artist that I work with, and she knows her brand like down to the T. Like, she has the hair, she has like the nails, she's got like certain symbols that are just like, yeah, this is who she is, and she is so particular with her brand because she knows what she wants. And every time we go to a label, we always have a mood board. There's always something. We have a mood board, we have the creative, like we have the vision. Everything is like laid out to a T. And we go to the labels and be like, hey, this is what we have. This is who you're going to be working with. Do you want to sign this? Yes or no? And it's great to have the labels be like, yeah, like we like this. How about this, this, and that? It's all meant to be collaborative, and we want it to be collaborative because we're working with them. We have a working relationship built on trust. And so if we're going to come to you and you're going to sign our music, we're going to make sure that it's going to be like a nice symbiotic relationship. So it does evolve. Just because we have the brand already there, it doesn't mean that it's going to be like, yeah, this is it. This is what we're going to do, and this is what this is all set. For us, when we're going to a brand or to a label, we're always working together to always elevate it, to take it to the next level, so that we can all win. So yeah.
There was a really good interview that 50 Cent did, and they asked him about 6ix9ine, and they said, how did you know he was going to be a star? And he goes, it's easy, because kids could dress up like him for Halloween. So he understood, and right, but it's true, right? And so he was so wild, he was so over the top, and he understood virality. He was a maniac, and he would do anything for fame, and look what happened, right? Again, never trust somebody who wants to be famous. So, but when you look at Ice Spice, and when you look at a lot of other people, they're still using the same techniques. And I was talking to you guys backstage about this, of like, okay, let's do a little bit of that. Let's do a little bit of the Bronx, and there's people dancing on the basketball. That's all 6ix9ine stuff. Because now the labels have learned, oh my God, he did this. Okay, let's use those techniques, right? But a lot of those techniques came out of rock stars. They came out of Kiss. They came out of Alice Cooper. They came out of Led Zeppelin. They came out of Black Sabbath, right? And so everyone needs a gimmick. It's a terrible thing to say, but it's the truth. And I met Ice Spice's friend who worked manager, and they told her to wear that wig. You know why? Because it was different. That's why. That's why. It's just, it's Annie. And then, I know Ice Spice. Oh, fun. And that's it. But like visually, they had something to hold on to. And then you could sell merch. And then you could sell tickets. And then, you could sell Pendum. And then you can get a deal with Beats by Dre, whatever.
Do you find
like,
it's
visually,
the same in your work, in graffiti and BMX?
every single person says, I always know when that's your mural. And I always know when that's your bike. From the Philippines, India, Mexico, Los Angeles, they always say that. And I could show you, if you want to surf with me, everyone trying to imitate me from all over the world. It's hilarious,
That's
yeah.
sick.
I've created a style, right? And that's why people come to me. It's not because of the numbers. It's because like, he knows how to tell these fun stories and it gets 86 million views. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, if you have that ability, people want that. Humans are impressed by numbers. That's just the reality of it. You got a lot of numbers, people will come to you and be like, how'd you get those numbers? What are you doing? I want the sauce, right? And when it comes to musicians, every musician overthinks everything. Every musician is a nightmare. I've had people on my couch tell me I'm the best producer in Toronto. I'm not joking. They're like, bro, I just need this one hit. It'll change my life. I'm like, okay. And like, not classically trained, not that good, but in their brain, they believed it. And that's when I started realizing, I asked myself, why are musicians so crazy? It's very simple. You can't touch it. You can't even see it. It's all frequencies. And frequencies affect people differently. There's people that'll tell you that Bob Marley is the greatest singer of all time. There's other people that'll tell you that Bono is the greatest singer of all time. There's other people that'll tell you that Ice Spice is the best singer. It is what it is, right? Everyone's gonna have a different reaction to different type of music, right? But the one thing that'll make you a star is that one X factor that you were talking about. And you don't need a lot of followers. You don't need to go viral. That's why I always say don't do trends. But if there's something special and these two can see it in you, then they can help you. But you have to be a team player. You have to understand, listen, for the next 2 years, this is the hot sound. And you gotta bend a little bit. You know what I mean? Because if you wanna stay crazy, have fun. You know what I mean? No one's gonna work with you. You need some work ethic. And I can't even imagine the crazy stuff you guys have dealt with at certain times. Because the stories I've heard, you wouldn't even believe. It's like, are you serious? But it is what it is, because music is frequencies. And you just can't touch it or see it. So everyone's gonna have a different interpretation of it. You know?
I'm super curious about like the one snippet you talked about with your mural is really recognizable by people around the world.
Yeah.
So, there's this idea of like knowing your brand and sticking with your brand and making it really recognizable. Do you ever find that to be like constraining to your creative journey and like exploring other things? Or are you like,
That's an excellent question. Everyone has to evolve. When you look at David Bowie, he went through a zillion different versions. When you look at Madonna, they went through different versions. Even Kiss, when they took off the makeup, they went through different versions. I don't care who you are, you want to be a legend, you're going to evolve. Taylor Swift right now is a different Taylor Swift from 10 years ago.
Post Malone is a different Post Malone than when he was.
Is not doing
Like,
trap
it's just-
anymore. Yeah,
It's like
Sabrina Carpenter.
That's
It's
perfect.
not- exactly.
True.
Now, most people are either ruled by fear or fueled by fear. You have to be fueled by fear. If you're ruled by fear, I can't change my style. Oh, and then you collapse and burn, okay? You have to kind of see what's the next big music and be like, maybe I should incorporate that. Drake, all of a sudden he's doing reggaeton. Drake, all of a sudden he's in England doing grime. You see what I
Right.
mean? So he's like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? That's how you stay on top. That's just the reality. Any artist, male, female group, once they on top, they're gonna have to keep evolving, and you cannot be afraid. And if your album flops, so what? Make another album. Prove people wrong. Moby's biggest album, which sold 10 million records, was after a huge flop, and that was Play, which changed music forever. And everyone for the next 2 years was trying to be Moby. You see what I'm saying? But it was because he was depressed. You see what I'm saying? So it's just, right? But because it was authentic. He wasn't trying to make a hit. He's just like, I'm gonna do this weird emotional music with jazz, and it destroyed the world. Because, and get this, that album, nobody wanted to sign it. So he found 2 little labels in England, and then they put it in a Volkswagen commercial. Then it exploded. So Moby understood virality better because he was desperate. And when you're desperate, you'll do fun things, but then people started realizing this song is related to this. And then he got into the movie The Beach. Then he got into the movie Any Given Sunday. You see what I mean? So then that created soundtrack music. And now every movie has a soundtrack with a cool song in it, John Wick included, right? But he was kind of the start of that. Now everyone puts The Prodigy or this or that or whatever. So it's like, that was kind of the early days of adding visuals or a movie or a TV show to a hit song. Kate Bush, Stranger Things, #1 around the world. That song hadn't been big since '84. Huge, because everyone's like, oh my God, Stranger Things, Kate Bush. See what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, you put out good stuff, eventually somebody will find it and put it where it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are really great points there. And yeah, I think there's something here where it's like we've seen a lot of artists evolve, like Post Malone, like Taylor Swift, even like Porter Robinson evolving.
Yeah, yeah.
But how are you making sure that your fans still stick with you when you're evolving? Obviously, you might find a new, different set of audience, but it's always uncertain when you're going into a new direction. And how do you make sure people are still liking what you're
You know what the
creating?
truth is? You will lose some of your fans. And that's just how
Right.
it goes. You know what I mean? When
Yeah.
AC/DC lost their lead singer and they had 2 hit albums, they got a new singer and they're like, is everyone gonna like us? They made Back in Black. It sold 50 million records, okay? Turns out people liked the new singer even better, right? So you never know,
Yeah.
but they weren't ruled by fear, they were fueled by fear. So like, we gotta get another album out. You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah.
And Van Halen is another key example. Like you never know till you try. But if you're too scared to try, you're gonna fail 100%. So just try, ask around, play your music. What do you guys think? Like you have to beta test your music for other people too,
Yeah.
right? Because you're gonna give some excellent critiques that maybe because they're in a bubble, right? And they don't know, right? So you can't be scared. You got to evolve, inch by inch. Don't totally change your thing, and then everyone's gonna lose you. But the truth is, your audience will change over time. I think that's true.
Yeah, and I think that I think a good thing to do when you have your fans is to bring them along the journey with you. So I'm working with an artist. They're calling it the 2.0 stage. It's the start of a new era. And the question is, how do we make sure that fans can still resonate with the music? Understand that they're loyal to you. So play into that loyalty. Lean into that so that they're like, so that hey, I've seen you. You've been there since day one. I want to take you along this new journey with me. Let's go through it together. And that's like an open dialogue. Like I think we're so lucky with social media to be able to have these platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, where we can connect and be like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Again, beta testing is really important so that you can understand where the audience is. Again, you are going to lose some fans, but there are going to be people who are going to be like, oh my God, I love this. I love what you're doing. Is there more? And you can be like, yes, there is more. And I'm going to show you. I have a new album or I have a new song coming out. And I want you to be the first people to listen to this. So there are going to be people at shows who are going to hear the songs first. Those are going to be your loyal fans. And then you put it on social media. Be like, hey, I have some new songs. I have some new IDs coming out. What do you think of this? That's kind of how I think bringing in your fans are going to continue to evolve and change and build your fan base to become even more loyal. And it's great because then your fans are going to be like, oh my God, I heard this first. I'm a real true fan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Authenticity. Yeah, and they
Yeah.
were with you with the ride. And that's why social media is
Exactly.
so important because they're like, oh, I heard that song 3 months ago. And then they feel cool. So remember when Bieber got big? When he was 10 years old playing
Yep.
in Stratford, Ontario, oh, well, I saw Bieber. And you know what I mean? Way before Scooter Braun found him. So they feel cool and they fuel the virality of it. But because somebody put up that video, the content was there. And I have a question for you guys right here. Have you ever had an artist that they had one hit that was so huge and then they got scared that they could never top it and then it started destroying them?
Honestly, no.
No?
No, I think, and I'm gonna give credit. I'll give credit. This is to Rez. Her song "Edge" went viral on TikTok. It probably had 2 million, and that was a song that was that came out 5 years ago. But that was such an old song too. That was at the start of her career. She's at the beginning, she's at the middle of her career right now. But she knew her vision and she knew where she was going. So she was like, yeah, this is a great song. I love that people are, listening to it again. Thank you so much. Here's some new songs that I want you to listen to. If you like what I'm doing, this is it. But whether she gained new fans, lost new fans, people got annoyed by it, she was like, I'm going to just stay true to myself. This is the stuff that I'm putting out. This is what I've always been doing. This is what I've been doing always. And I'm no matter what, you guys can like it, you guys cannot, but this is what I'm going to continue to do.
I think The Weeknd is another example of an
Yeah.
artist that did that because I remember when the trilogy first came out. Remember he was this mysterious figure. He
wouldn't do interviews.
He wouldn't do interviews. Nobody knew what The Weeknd really looked like, and I was this is whole thing. And then I remember there was conversations of like after it was like, you know, I think then after that he did Kissland, which was like the album that most people probably said like, what is this?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
This was not it. And then I think there was like a moment where I think the label had said like, hey, like what kind of artist do you want to be? Like, do you want to be like the mysterious guy that no one's like, you know what I mean? That kind of sort of caps at a certain level, like the SoundCloud guys think
Yeah.
you're cool, or do you want to be a fucking superstar? You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like, what do you want to be? And I think he was like, I want to be like Michael Jackson, fucking superstar. Next thing you know, The Weeknd's dancing in the video, right? He's like, remember, like, Can't Feel My Face? Like, that was the whole thing. And I remember, like, he did the record from 50 Shades of Grey that kind of, like, crossed him. And I was like, all of a sudden, soccer moms love this guy
Yep.
because they're all watching 50 Shades of Grey. You know what I mean? Like, there's that moment where just think, no, that's a real story, right? Like,
This
and then
is
he's
such.
fucking out of here.
You know
right?
what?
I mean?
That is the greatest example because I have all these thug friends from Mississauga, and they smoke a lot of weed and they act all thuggy, whatever, right? And they're like, yeah, the weekend, yeah, girls, yeah, banging, right? So they loved the thug weekend, right? Yeah. Then he went pop, and they're like, nah, I don't like that shit. I like this shit, right? And see, I'm hearing it in the audience already. And so he lost some fans, got some new fans. But guess what? He's in an $80 million mansion, and he couldn't give a
he's
shit,
on top.
right? So he
Dancing
didn't care.
like crazy.
Yeah,
now.
see? And now you see interviews with him, and he's the happiest guy. Hi, how are you? And you're like, what? I thought you were mysterious and weird, and you're a happy-ass guy from Scarborough. What's going on here, right? This is not what you sold me on in 2009. But he had a vision, right? 333, and now the movie and everything. So he understood because he studied music. He studied why these bands were big, why these people changed, why Michael Jackson did this, the Dangerous album, the Bad album, right? So he had a vision, and he wasn't scared. When you do that, you can be a legend. If you're like too scared to change it up, well, you're done. I mean, it's because that type of music's not going to be cool 2 years from now. And that's just the truth. You know how much techno has changed in the last 2 years? I don't even have to tell you guys. It's totally changed. You know what I'm saying? And now everyone's like, oh, I gotta change the BPM. I gotta fit in with this now. And now you got the Sphere in Vegas putting all the visual down. Oh, now I need visuals. Now I need a big robot and all this stuff. Because everyone's right. Because everyone's seeing it. They're like, oh, I need this. And so like everyone's seeing new stuff, and then they're like, I gotta get on the new stuff. Because they're not staying true to their sound. They're just trying to fit in. You're screwed at that point. Because you're never going to be up to date. You're always going to be a year behind. Because the stuff you're seeing was already planned a year ago. You're just seeing it now, right? So you better have a vision, like what you guys are talking about, and have good work ethic.
I'm curious. We're talking a lot about fans and building them, holding on to them. Is there like, because from my understanding of marketing in general, social media is a little bit like a billboard, and but then you kind of need a place. At least this is what I've been told, that you kind of need a place for your fans to kind of sit, a place for them to nurture, I guess is the right word. And I think I feel like it's key for a lot of us because we all try to play the social media game, but like I feel like not many people are kind of aware of the post social media game, like trying to keep fans. So like from your perspective, like what are you guys kind of doing, or what does that look like? Is that like Discord channels, or like I feel like it's different for every artist, but like what have you seen, or what are your artists doing?
Yeah, so I think Discord, like, I'll give credit to Discord. I think it's a great way to connect with your fans. I always try to encourage at least like my developing artists to do Discord because it allows you to build a community. There's like, I think of fans, like you're part of, you have an audience with your fans, but when you build it beyond fans and go into community, I think that's when you really start to create a really dedicated fan base. And I think something like Discord, Instagram broadcast channel is great for that. And then from there, you can go into things like, hey, I'm doing meetups at whatever city, whatever show. I would love for us to meet there. The only people who will see that are going to be people in your Discord or Instagram broadcast channel. That's where everything from, you have an audience to, you have a really awesome fan base. That's when that really shifts. And then on top of that, like, yes, you have, so let's say Discord. Then you have like meetups. Then, I think doing things specifically your fans for your community, whether they're like nice little pop-ups. I know pop-ups are a really big thing right now, and I think that's the reason why it's so alluring to people is because it's become an emotional human-to-human connection. Yeah, and it's intimate and it's something where people can really connect with you. So you don't have to have that like big gate barrier like where everyone's riding the rails. You're not going to be able to make a really big connection in that. Obviously, you're like headbanging, you're doing all that stuff. You're like feeling the emotion, feeling the music and the connection, but that face-to-face, eye-to-eye human connection is going to be so different, and that's going to really change someone from a fan audience to a big community builder champion in your corner.
You know who's a big example of that? Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Because Jelly Roll right now is more famous for losing weight and pushing health. Because he's like, I need to change. And then he started doing it. And everyone's like, yeah, I'm with you. And now he runs 5K with Travis Barker. And then he's hanging out. So it's like, you're in love with the person.
Yeah.
It's not just the music. And that's so example. And I think everybody has a totally different story. But that's his story. And somebody else will have a story, but you got to tell it. You can't
Yeah.
just be emotional inside, not saying anything. That's not going to get any type of engagement.
In terms of community, how important is collectives or local scenes or like having a group of people kind of on the like working together with you like on the way up? I feel like we hear this pretty frequently, like that DJs will kind of band with other DJs. Obviously, we're doing the same thing, but like in your experience, like is that something that's kind of like it's a W to do, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I think that having your community, locals, collectives, like they're going to be the first people that are going to go out to your shows. They're going to be like, I'll give another example of a local DJ artist that I know, Marta. She's like I don't know, remember how I met her. I think I met her because it was a women in music kind of dinner that we had, and that was when I first met her. And then we all started going to her shows. We we all started getting invited to it, and there was a community behind her where now she's playing Electric Islands. She's doing some showcases in Miami. And I think having your local community start here where they're going to literally yell and be like, yes, this is our person. This is who we started with since day one. I think having something like that is going to be so much more effective, because then eventually you'll be like, they're going to be touring. They're going to be like going around the world, and then they'll come back and be like, yeah, these are the people who I started my career with, and I want to do something really special. And whether that's going to be like, you know, like a free show, it's going to be like a meetup or anything like that. Those are the collectives and those are the communities that you'll look back at and be like, this is how I got my start, and I can't thank them enough for this. And like another example, like Toronto rave community. Does everyone know Toronto rave community?
Red started on there. I remember when she was producing.
Exactly. Toronto, exactly. And she started putting her music out. And this is not my story to tell, but she started putting her music out, and I've been told that she got a bit of hate, but there were some people who were like saying, yes, this is someone that we need to support. This is awesome. Like, we have someone coming up who's so unique coming up. And she started going to the underground raves. She started hanging out with all these different people. And now she's like one of the biggest electronic music acts in the world right now. And it all started with Toronto rave community, and people were going out to shows like her Ever After show. Like, there was like a small group. It was like she was like the opening slot.
I did the flyers for Ever After.
Exactly.
And I did the photography and a mural.
There you go.
He was
And
there.
that's on community.
No, that's actually true. And she would beta test songs too. What do you think of this? What do you think of this? So that's a person who's fearless and had a vision. So she's been to my studio, and she was telling me, I have a comic book coming out, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I'm like, yo, I respect this. Like, she literally had such a vision. I'm like, this is amazing how like full steam ahead she was. And that's the work ethic, and that's why she is who she is.
And she still does that, by the way. So like, if you ever tweet at her and be like, "Hey, like, do you have any new songs coming out?" She'll be like, "Yes, I have this, and this," and like, she'll always ask for feedback. She always has an open communication, and I think that's so important to have with your fans, with your community.
That's actually there's been studies on that people that ask for critiques go way farther than people who think no, bro, it's my way or the highway, right? That's not the way it works. I don't care if you're Steve Jobs, I don't care who you are. You have a team and you're like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? People you trust, and then you move forward. And it's the people that have the balls to take critiques. They're gonna go farther, right? Because someone else might be a little bit better at you at something, and they may be like, maybe you should do this. Oh, okay, cool, thanks. It's group mentality, you know.
I also just think that like the community thing is real, just like important, just because like cultural relevance in general, like, you know what I mean? Like here at the label, maybe I shouldn't like, and I don't want this to sound the weirdest way, but there's so many times where I'll be like sitting in a meeting and I'll be like, it doesn't matter how much friggin' millions of dollars you put towards something, like if it is not like resonate in the culture, like, you know what I mean? Like
So true.
it doesn't mean shit. You know what I mean? You could throw as much marketing dollars to something, but if it does not resonate in the street, is what I say, it's not going to work. You know what I mean? And I think that's where the community part is super important. Like, whether you're a DJ, whether you're an artist, or even just me in my regular job, like I have to actually go into these places to see it for myself, right? Like, I want to see where it's actually like, even if you say like you go to some underground rave where there's like 30 people, but that's where the shit starts. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's important for artists to do that. I mean, if you look at even the history of some of the biggest superstars, like you look at like Madonna was in the clubs back in the day. Like Gaga was in those clubs back in the day.
Madonna dated Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Yeah, like, you know,
then.
like those, you know, like you have to really be in the mix. And I feel like, you know, it's always like, yeah, it's just super important, because if you don't have that sort of cosign from like the youth who actually drive culture, none of it means shit, in
So
my
true.
opinion, right? So
For sure. And I think this is a really great segue for us to hand over the mics to the youths in the streets, because obviously this is what our community is all about. So we're gonna open the panel up now for Q&A. And so I'm gonna be passing my mic to whoever wants to ask a question to anyone on the panel. Ooh. Hey.
Hey, this has been really awesome. I'm really glad I saw his story and just decided to jump in.
Social media.
Yeah, and truthfully, I jumped in because I've been hearing a lot about being the product of the 5 people that you hang out with. So I love this topic of being with people who are living it. And one of the questions is, I've been feeling like this pull to start to create music, but I'm curious how do you get over that mental kind of like almost talking yourself out of it? It's like you get an idea, you get a thought, you get this inspiration to create something, and then there's an idea, and it's like, or there's that voice in your head that's like, no, don't do it.
That's the overthinking, and that's what every musician suffers from. They're like, oh, are people going to like this? Again, I can't say this a million times enough. You have to be ruled by fear, not fueled by fear. Fueled by fear, not ruled by fear. Okay? If you're scared, you're not going to go anywhere. Just put out a song, and if no one likes it, okay, well, whatever. But if one person likes it, it's like, oh. And then you get that adrenaline. You're like, oh, maybe, okay, was it that one part they liked? And then you kind of fine tune, or you funnel down, and you start going. You should hear all my first songs. They're terrible. They're horrible. But then I got better and better and better and better. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then a DJ played it. And like, oh, why'd you play that one? Oh, okay. And then you start learning. I wasn't afraid. Same with murals. Same with bikes. Same with anything, right? Your first ones are going to suck, just like you said. That's just the reality, okay? But you start, and then if you're a nice person, people will help you and hang out with you, and then you'll learn, and then they'll teach you stuff, and go, oh, I didn't know that, thanks, man. And then you teach them, and then you start growing together. And everyone who's good hung out with somebody who was somewhat similar, right? So.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that, like, it's such a mental hurdle to get over. But, like, imagine, like, 5 years from now, and you still have that thought. Well, you could have started that 5 years ago, and you could have had so much progress, could have had so much growth at that point. And it's just like, okay, well, then I should have started then. But I think, like, ensuring that you kind of get over that mental hurdle. And again, everything is going to suck. Everyone has a starting place. Like, let's say you're like at the gym. That's your starting place. You don't like that's your day one, and you're gonna get better over time. Think of that as like churning your muscles, making sure that you're developing, growing from there. It all starts from day one, and you just got to keep working at it. And you'll get to a good spot.
Thank you. Awesome. I'm hearing just focus on my habits and
When you're going through hell, keep going. That's it.
I'll remember that. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? I think I saw your hand next.
Hi everyone, my name's Saray. I'm an R&B pop artist out of the city. I grew up in Brampton, so kind of in the city, but in the suburbs, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I have a project coming out, and listening to everything that you guys are saying really is just like fully, I guess, encapsulating what it is that I'm trying to do with my team to bring the project to fruition. But I think one of the questions that me and my creative director have been kind of contemplating is like, what are some facets within, I think, marketing specifically that artists are either earlier on tapping into that haven't been explored yet, whether it be like spaces like Twitch. You said Discord as well. That's a really good space to kind of grow your community. Like, what are spaces that haven't really been tapped into yet that I think, or that you think that maybe artists should be exploring more earlier on into their career, and even into their career, if that makes sense.
You know what I've heard? I saw an interview with Aesop Rocky, and they said they hit Pinterest first. And Pinterest is the way that Aesop Mob got big. So I would say that. I would say, what's the other one? What's the one where all the viral things start? The 4chan or whatever? I don't know, something like that. Sure. No, there's some website where everything starts and then it goes on.
Reddit.
Reddit. That's it. Yeah. Maybe try that. I don't even know what 4chan is. But,
Not 4chan.
yeah, try other ones. Is that a terrible one? Did I screw up?
It's a terrible one.
That's pretty bad.
It's not on a documentary. But yeah, no, Pinterest and lots of other ones are, and you know what? Don't be scared. Like, you never know. You might blow up on there, and then next thing you know, they love you for that, and then all the fans translate over, and then you win. So.
And is there a question for you? Is it a project that you're trying to put out?
Yeah, so it's an EP.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, the reason why I ask is because I get asked this a lot of times, especially with developing acts, and like I'm putting out this project, and I always wonder if it's more, what's the strategy? Is it more putting out a project that like maybe not everybody, maybe if you're still a developing act, that is there an appetite yet for an entire project, or is it more single by single first, and you build it up to get to that point, and then you get creative with how you're releasing each single, doing different things. So just something I thought about, because there's people I know who have put out, like, they work up to this whole thing, it's going to be this EP or a project, but unfortunately they just haven't built enough yet of a following or a fan base to warrant a project, and then the project comes out and it sort of sometimes just kind of falls on dead ears, right? On deaf ears, so to say. But anyways, just something to think about as well.
I would like to say that also, like, social media, like Discord and Instagram broadcast channel, I think that's like the second step to your marketing funnel. I think the first step is building awareness in like you have songs coming out. Okay, like, how are people going to connect to the songs? They have to have some awareness to it. And then once they have that, you can go into these broadcast channels and be like, hey, here's a little second snippet. Let me know what you think of it. Those can go in those like exclusive broadcast channels, Discords, and that's where you can really start opening up that conversation. And then they could, like, your fans, people who are listening, they're like, okay, I really like this. I want to hear it on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever. Be like, okay, here's the link, and this is, if you guys could support me, I would love that. And in addition, like, would love to do something back for you. Kind of have that like fan community exchange where, again, frequencies are exchanged in a way that's like meant to be more emotional instead of transactional. So I think that's like the first. I think firstly you got to build that awareness before you can really get into that second channel.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I saw this hand up first.
Question for Ivan. I have some interest on a project I'm doing, and I haven't met with you yet, but the question is, what's the benefit to doing a Canada-only deal if the other labels in the other territories are not guaranteed to buy in? What's the benefit of doing a Canada-only deal? And quick follow-up on that, how often do you do a world deal out of Canada?
Well, typically we like to do world deals just because, like, you know, there's no borders now, right? Especially
Nice.
with streaming, right? So we typically do like to do world deals, but there are many instances where we'll do, you know, as far as the major label system goes, we'll do partnerships with our counterparts in the U.S. So whether that's a joint venture, direct deal where we're signing an act directly 50-50 with the U.S. label, where now it's like they're working the U.S. or we're working Canada, and jointly we're working the world together. But for the most part, our deals are world deals that we do, whether we're doing that alone, where we're sort of doing everything ourselves and we're kind of figuring out how the rest of the world, we're marketing it with the rest of the world. But a lot of times we typically are trying to partner with some sort of U.S. label in that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, man. I didn't know you were doing world deals.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a time maybe before streaming, like, where we were just like, hey, we're just concerned about Canada because we're worried about what's being sold in Canada. We knew how much we're shipping to HMV and all the stores there, so we can kind of watch that. But now, because the world is sort of borderless with the streaming world, we definitely we do world deals for the most part.
I have a question for you. How much has like the music industry changed in the last, like, let's say 10 years? Like,
Oh, dude, it's changed so much in the last freaking 5 months. You know what I mean? It's constantly changing. I started at a time where it's so crazy, and I could talk for hours about this, but it's definitely changed a lot in terms of just like how we look at artists now, right? It's like back then it was like you had a hot song, you had, like, you know, a look, and you knew how to perform live. Perfect. Got it. You know what I mean? You're touring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it's like, it's weird because it's like, yes, the music is a part of it, but it's actually like just one part of it now. It's like now it's crazy to me because I think it's almost more difficult in a weird way, even though it sounds, because with social media and stuff. But like now it's almost like you're expected to be like a content creator. You're expected to be like an influencer. And like most of the artists that I've met that are just like really just they have no clue like how social media works even, and they don't necessarily have really interest in that. They're just all about the music. So it's so much more different now. But yeah, I mean, I can talk for hours on that, but it's definitely a different time for
no,
sure.
I love it, and I think it's important for all these people to hear this, that things are ever changing.
Always. It's constantly
You know?
changing. And it goes back to your point about even us as the labels, like we have to learn to adapt to just like how everything is changing. Like, you know, I'd like to think that part of the reason why I've been able to work as long as I've just had to reinvent myself in this building as well, just understanding trends, understanding how the world works, you know what I mean? And sure, we're this major label, and sometimes there's a lot of, you know, red tape. That I'll admit. There's because it's a fucking global multinational company. There's so much, right?
You guys
But
have Daft Punk, right?
do
Or
we
no,
have
or was
that?
that Columbia?
No, the Daft Punk's
Columbia?
not us, I don't think.
Who was
Maybe.
who?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I remember the marketing for that album.
Right.
I mean, that was the most insane marketing of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, they had posters, they had websites, they had everything. So you kind of saw the machine there.
Yeah, I
you know?
think I not to age myself, but I started 2 years before Napster.
that was a great time.
Which
that
is
was awesome.
crazy, right? When you think about it, because like I remember when Napster hit, I was like, "Oh,
That was
shit!"
huge.
Like, damn, right? Like, it's crazy because I came up from that era, right? Where it's like, yeah, of course, it's like, of course, people are taking the music because it's like, you know, they say like, you tell the kid not to steal from the cookie jar. Well, they're gonna steal from the cookie jar. That's exactly what was happening at that point, and it was weird because like I was the guy when I first started here. I was the guy who used to hand out flyers in front of the clubs. I was the guy who put up the posters on the street. This is like in the 97, 98 is when I started at this company. So it was a very different time. And when Napster came and like the business model just changed overnight, like it was crazy because it was like that kind of came up out of nowhere and came quick. And there were just like a lot of people who I literally kind of looked as mentors coming up. And then within years, some of them didn't have a job anymore. Like just the whole world changed.
Well,
you
I don't
know?
think people realize when Steve Jobs released the first iPod in
Yeah.
2001, that was really controversial.
Yeah.
Because it was rip, mix, burn. He was
Yeah.
literally telling you steal music and put it on this and pay me $700, right? And then the first iPod failed. Then this iPod Mini came out, and that was a hit.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's when it really exploded. And then the white the white, what do you call it?
AirPods.
AirPods, which are still around. That became like a symbol of like, I'm listening to cool music on this cool device. So even then, everything totally changed, right?
Yeah. But it is constantly evolving, I find.
Yeah.
The music game, and so.
Okay, I think that's all the time we have for questions today. Let's all give a big round of applause to all of our speakers and our hosts. Do you guys have any parting thoughts for the audience?
Want to start?
Yeah, it's easier said than done, but just stay true to yourself, and if you're gonna be in this music industry, show up as yourself and not anyone else.
Yeah, 100%. And I tell this to a lot of artists all the time. They're like, "What's the trick?" And I'm like, you know what? Big part of it is just say please and say fucking thank you, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd be surprised on how many doors just open when you're just nice. You know what I mean? It's the truth. I mean, it sounds kind of like what, but it's true. And I think most importantly, it's just like, do the work. Like like I said that at the very beginning, like you have to do the work, because if you're not, somebody's ready right behind you that's ready to eat your food, like guaranteed. You know what I mean? So I think it's super important to just the work ethic part is super,
I just want to say, please don't be scared. You want to change up your style? Do it. You want to do this? Do it. Don't. It doesn't matter. Just do it. One day you're gonna look back and be like, oh man, I was in my 20s. I had all this energy. I should have done it. And then this person I know became huge, and I'm over here broke. You know what I'm saying? You will say that to yourself. Just try it. And then one day you're gonna get pretty good, and you're gonna do something for fun, and it's gonna be massive. And every single band that you like, their biggest hits were written just like that. The Weeknd included. He wrote his 2 biggest songs in 20 minutes, and he was just messing around. Every single top band, every single top person was just like, and then that song came. When you sit and you try to put all this pressure on yourself, you're like, I'm going to make a hit. It will never happen. There's no way. The human brain doesn't work like that. Spirituality doesn't work like that. You just got to have fun randomly and keep the work ethic, and it will work. But you might get famous for something random that you didn't intend to. That's okay. If the world loves you for something, just roll with it. But don't be scared. Please don't be scared.
And the last thing I'd probably just say real quick is like invest in yourself. Like really, like bet on yourself, but invest in yourself. I think it's, you know what I mean? Like if you want something bad, like you're gonna have to go get it. Like it's not gonna be hand. That's what I've learned is like yeah.
Well, I'd just like to say before we get off the stage is just thank you so much for taking the time. You guys this has been incredibly insightful. You guys are so experienced, and we respect your tenacity in the industry and just how long you've been there and just your success just all as individuals. And we haven't really dove that deep into your history, into music, but we can feel it. I think everyone here can feel that, and we really do appreciate all the advice and all the information that you've given us. We all appreciate. We're all trying to get to somewhere. We admire you guys, all three of you. So thank you so much. Thank you.
We got to do part 2.
Thank you.
Too.
Okay, thank you all so much. So our next Syncedin is happening July 8th if you're interested in coming out. But I know it's quite a bit of time away. So if you want to stay connected, we have quite a lot of things happening in Discord. Shout out Tony. So if you're interested, you can just hit the application there. And can I get my team and also Natasha and Natalie? Let's get up here. Let's take a quick photo.
Yeah.
And by the way, this song is our latest release.
I can't stand the way you always look at me. How your eyes can pull me in and push me down so deep.
Jstdrmn on 3. 1, 2, 3. Jstdrmn!